Today we're going to go over brick staining steps. So as we begin, the first thing you want to make sure is that your surface is absorbable within water. So what we mean by that is you take simply a water sprayer and you want to see the water absorb into a brick, mortar, stucco, whatever have you. If the particle or the substrate in this case has been painted, we will refer later to our Sol-Silicate, for instance. But what we're trying to accomplish is to make sure that there aren't any sealers, whether it be a chimney or the rest of the building. Sometimes a sealer that is on the surface is transparent, so for that reason we don't know until we do test areas. So when we begin, simply take a water. You could use any one of these types of concoctions, and then make sure as you spray that the water, you'll see it absorb into the actual surface. If it's streaking and running down, that's an indicator that you either have some type of a solvent sealer that is transparent in this case, or there's something there that needs to be removed prior to starting altogether. So let's start with our first cleaner. Say you walk around your house, your perimeter, and you notice you have some areas that are a little bit, not just much dirty, but they're green, and you're looking at mildew and algae. So the mold and algae remover is going to be specific for that. You would take the product, spray it on the affected areas, and let it sit there for 24 hours. The reason why we leave it that long or the next day is that the biocides in our product are going to work its way not only to remove the contaminant, but also to disinfect it. For that reason, the product can be used on the inside and outside. So God forbid if you have any mold or algae on the inside of your home and you're within a strict budget, you could actually use this product where you spray in the affected area and then let it sit for 24 hours, and then you could gently rinse it off if it happens to be on a drywall or any concrete type of a wall. And that's a great solution to have in the event you don't have to call professionals. Obviously, if you got mold all over your attic, that's a different perimeter. But if you have sporadic areas in the home that could affect your health and well-being, you could use the product. And once again, same thing as doing the water test. You could literally put the mold and algae remover in one of these bottles and then just spray it on. It's going to give you a soapy scent, so it's not harsh. And for the most part, from an ecological standpoint, it's a pretty safe product to use. I would still always wear gloves. You obviously don't want to get it in your eyes, so be mindful of that. But for the most part, it's a very easy product to use. So that's going to be our mold and algae remover. Next product is going to be our metal mason cleaner. This could be applied to a metal roof shingle, any metal components, even wood, even like a T11 siding board, for instance, hardy boards, brick, mortar, and even for you masons, if it's a brick and mortar that's brand new, you just done either a preservation or new construction, instead of using like a TSP, you could also use this product. What it's going to do is it's going to clean the area, but it's also going to neutralize. The other positive for using this product is, especially when brick staining or painting, if you have an oil or grease stain on a vertical wall that needs to be removed, that is specifically what this product is there for. It has a little bit of ammonia and other components, but what it does is it gets on the actual grease and then it works its way in removing or breaking down the fatty particles. So the metal mason cleaner can be to clean your interior, more or less exterior, any metal components, wood, and then obviously any masonry. Now, please be mindful, this product is a little bit harsh, so the smell is a little pungy. I would recommend wearing some type of a mask if you cannot handle the smell. And obviously, you know, to disinfect or to break down certain grime, it's got to have a little bit of unfortunately a scent to it, because it's got to break down those components. The other thing I would mention is it has a pH value between 9 and 10, and that's where that neutralizing effect is going to take shape, where it's so high in alkalinity. It's also a great feature where you could use it as a cleaner even if you're a mason. So once your building has been checked for water absorbency, it's been cleaned using one or two of our products, the next step is going to be to apply our Eco-Prim, which is right behind me right there. And it is a transparent primer that you could use with, or you could apply with a brush roller. And once again, even if you have a garden sprayer, so not like this bottle, but if you have a garden sprayer and you control the tip size, you could literally use one of those small garden spray concoctions where you pump spray. Just make sure that you do not get it on any glass windows. So make sure that you prep your home prior to starting. If you're going to be extremely careful, or if it's a smaller area, I would then use a brush to make sure that you don't spray over any metal or glass, for that matter, because the glass is going to have what's known as etching. It's a glass on top of a glass effect, and we want to make sure that you don't have this issue. So if you're going to be all over the place with the primer, I would make sure to protect the windows, and if your trim is either metal, fiberglass, or whatnot, I would make sure to cover the entire area, because again, the primer is made with potassium silicate. So it's the same thing as our masonry stain, except it's able to penetrate deeper into the surface because there aren't any fillers and colorants. So it's almost like a liquid water solution. So it's able to penetrate further in. Once you apply the primer, you want to wait a minimum of 12 hours. So probably next day you come in and then you start to stain. Once the primer has been complete, or the steps, the next is to apply our masonry stain as option A. If you have a building that's been previously painted, then you could also use our Sol-Silicate. And of course, there's the photocatalytic masonry stain, which is closer to our masonry stain. But anyhow, you have those three products where you're going to begin the process. One thing to keep in mind when you stain is make sure you don't do touch-ups couple, 10, 15, 20 minutes later. So take your time. If you use a roller and somebody behind you, or you're going to back roll it or back brush yourself, go in small stages. Make sure to check out our how-to page. It shows there's a picture at the top how to tooth it in. So if you have to take a break, you have a mortar on each side. You want to make sure that you stop at the mortar, not half of the brick. So the same concept, if you're staining a piece of wood, you're not going to stop halfway, take a break, come back 15 minutes later, right? So when you're staining, you're going to stop right at the mortar on both sides, and when you come back, that is going to be your transitionary period. So same process with staining. Very straightforward, but you want to take your time, and you don't want to come back 30, 45 minutes later and do touch-ups. If you do touch-ups, what happens with silicates, meaning in this case water glass, there could be a reaction where the touch-ups are actually lighter, not darker, and then you're going to have spots all over the wall. So you want to be mindful of that. So it's not a sprint. You want to treat it like a marathon. Take your time. Whether you're rolling, whether you're brushing, you want to do the X method or the cross method. And then obviously you could come back and back roll it if you need to. The other thing is if you use a sprayer, minimally, it's going to be a 519 tip with a 595 Greco as the equipment, or a Titan 640. That is our minimum starting point or recommendation, because the machine has to be able to, or the compressor has to be able to yield enough stain per minute. And so 2900 PSI is the minimum requirement, obviously going up. So that in a nutshell is the masonry stain from A to Z, ranging from cleaners, primers, to the actual application. The other thing to keep in mind, if you have very, very sharp brick like a bark face and you're doing it with a roller, you may have to buy 4 to 6 rollers, and every one of the sides, you're switching up the roller to stay within the same consistency. Any further questions that you may have, please reach out to us, info@mineralstains.com. And for steps, please visit our how-to page that will give you a step-by-step instruction. And then there's also videos that we keep adding on to make it easier for you as an applicator. Thank you for your business. Have a great day.